So Jen and I, for those of you who don't know, have known each other since 1985,
Eight.
88,
Sorry.
88, gosh. And it's now 2023. So you do the math, long time. And we met at a video dating service called Great Expectations. Neither of us were customers. We worked there as salespeople. And what was such a cool thing is, I mean, that was like my first probably real job out of college. I was selling office supplies before that, and I knocked on their door, and Keith hired me, and and
I didn't
so
know that.
yeah. And we've known each other for 35 years, and it's been just a wonderful thing. Now, after Great Expectations, I went off to real estate, and then became a yoga teacher, then a yoga studio owner, and that kind of catches us up to today. But I left the video dating service business, and then just so you know, a video dating business service back then was, we didn't have internet, so you couldn't just swipe right and swipe left or whatever happens now. You had to do an interview in front of a video, explain who you were, and your likes, your dislikes, and all the rest of that stuff. There were photographs. You had a professional photo shoot, and not glamour shots, like real nice photos. I'm still friends with David Marks, the photographer, by the way.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you were in a book with a profile, and so somebody would come in and look through the profiles, and if they liked you, they get your number, and vice versa, and then you'd become, well, whatever you became. So that was the business back then. And I went off to do other things. Jen, you stayed in the matchmaking business,
Still,
and
still there.
I'd love to hear your story about that choice and that career and how you stayed in
Yeah.
it, and what just all about it.
It was kind of a fluke how I fell into it. At the time, I was in hotel sales and I was with the Ramada. I was there for a very long time and then decided I was moving to California, got a transfer with Ramada. I was ready to move. I had everything in line, met somebody here, everything went haywire, and my plans changed. And I had already resigned my position. So I looked in the paper, which is what we did then for looking for jobs for want ads. And I saw the Great Expectations ad, and it sounded super interesting to me. Went in for the interview. They offered me the job. And then I declined it because the person that I was seeing was really against it and influencing me to stay in the hotel industry with all the perks and the travel and the this and the that.
So
And
he wanted you to stay in it for what he could get.
oh yeah, and he wanted me to stay away from the dating service. He was kind of insecure in retrospect, right?
Right.
But at the time, I'm like, he's probably right. This is a commission job. This is not as stable as the hotel. But a week into the new hotel job that I got, I hated it and it didn't feel right. And I kept thinking about Great Expectations. So I called Keith, who was the manager at the time, and I just, from a payphone, I remember going to a payphone on my lunch break at the hotel. And
Right. No cell phones back then.
right, talking to Keith and just said I made a big mistake, and I said I really I would love for you to give me another opportunity. So he said come back in, blah blah, hired me, and it was a good fit really right away. And everyone who kept telling me, oh, commission, I ended up making more money there the first year than I would have at the hotel, and it went up from there. It was a good fit for me.
Yeah.
A good
Do
fit.
you remember in the mornings Keith would read like what was it? Ogmandingo? Who was it?
Yes, Mandingo, I
Who
think.
was it?
Yeah,
Mandino,
yeah.
and all those other sales guys. And then when you walk in, Keith, how are you? Best day of my life. Tomorrow's gonna be even better. I hope yours is too. I
Uh,
still remember that.
do you remember Eye of the Tiger? They'd
Oh,
play Eye of
yeah, I do.
8:45 on Saturday sales meetings. Eye of the Tiger would be playing. We had to get like pumped.
My God. And then remember, we would all go to the Red Lobster afterwards
right next
and
door.
and have Long Island iced teas.
Oh, yes, we would.
Oh boy, if I had one of those now, I'd be under the table.
I know, me
I'd be
too.
asleep for 2 days. Oh my
It
God, I
was fun
remember
though.
those
We had
days.
a lot of fun, didn't we? I mean,
We did.
it was a fun job. And at that time, we had a really nice group of people that
We did.
worked there. And I have lifelong friends. My best friend Bernadine, we met, she worked there.
Yeah, I
And
remember. And then Jill,
Jill,
yeah, Jill, and then Latia. I'm still friends with Latia,
are you? That's so
mostly on
nice.
Facebook. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No, it's great. And, I met lifelong friends and husbands. So
husbands plural.
I did.
I guess your old boyfriend had something to worry about.
Long after we were done.
Yeah. I'm sure. Oh gosh. Anyway, so you stayed in it. What happened after Great Expectations? Because we probably lost touch a bit after that.
We did. After Great Expectations, they were kind of on a downhill spiral. They changed ownership and things were just really getting bad. And that was around 2005, I believe.
So you were there for
I was
15.
there for 17 years, I think, something
Wow.
like that. I was there for a very long time and we went through a lot of changes. So then I went to a company called It's Just Lunch, which is still around. They don't have an office anymore. When I worked there, they did have an office. I was there about a year and a half. It was just a little bit strange. The lady who ran it, anyway, it wasn't the greatest place in the world. And anyway, that ended up going back to the franchise franchisee or whatever. So she lost the franchise. So anyway, that got sold back to corporate. They still operate, they just do it via the phone. So then what did I do? I started my own, you might not know this actually, I started my own dating coaching company.
Really? What's a dating coach?
Dating consulting. Well, what I realized from working, and I still know this now from working in this industry, there are a lot of people who need guidance. They need help. They've maybe been divorced after a 30-year marriage. Maybe they're widowed. They're suddenly back in the dating scene and they don't know how to do it. They don't know the right thing to say. They don't know the right thing to wear. They don't know how to approach dating. And some people just, had trouble. So I found there was a real need for this. And so I did that for, about a year and a half. I did that on my own. And it was good. It was good experience. It wasn't, completely paying all the bills at the time, but it was a good thing. And then I began at another company, which changed names quite a few times, but it was matchmaking. So everything switched. There was no more video dating. There was no more, pictures even. There was nothing like that. It all switched to personal matchmaking. And now, gratefully, very gratefully, I'm with a company that is very solid. I've been with them for about 5 years. So I went through with this other company and went through a lot of changes. And so I'm with a company, it's called the Matchmaking Company. That's what we're called, nationwide. And so, yeah, still doing it.
Wow.
Um,
And so with everything being so easy online, like what's the need for a matchmaking company? What makes
so
what makes you stand out? Because, I can just get on something and swipe or whatever.
Yeah, it's super easy to do. And the problem with online dating for a lot of people who are selective is that you don't know if people are being honest, and a lot of people are not. There are a lot of scams. If I could tell you the amount of women and men, not just women who got scammed, but men too, who got scammed for thousands upon thousands, some people 20,000 plus. These people are slick. They're good, they pretend and they
How does that work?
They prey on vulnerable people. They prey on widows, widowers, people who are very lonely, who are not savvy, and to the world, to the social aspects of the world. And so they, oh, I really want to meet you. They send a picture that's not even them, and then they extort money, oh, I need money, I want to see you, but I'm out of the country right now and I'm stuck and I really need a plane ticket.
And
It's
somebody does that?
They do it, they do it, and it's very
Wow.
sad and it's very tragic. And I'm not saying that's the majority of people online, but it
No, but
happens.
it happens. And
It
I
happens.
imagine once burned, then you are definitely in the market for some other manner of meeting people.
Yeah.
Wow, I
And
can't
so
imagine that somebody that I'd never met face to face, I would that you'd send money to them.
no, you wouldn't, right?
I'm not
And
even sure I'd send money to somebody I knew face to face unless I'd known them for a long time.
you send money to me.
Well, I've known you for 35 years. I think you passed the litmus test, but
No, I know. I know. It's very sad. Plus, there are, we background check everyone. So we make sure nobody has a felony, no domestic violence, multiple DUIs, blah, blah, blah.
right.
So that people feel safe. So that's the upside of it is people feel safe. People are investing a lot of money with us. It's not cheap. It's way more than when you and I were at Great Expectations.
Yeah.
So it's a hefty fee that people pay, which works. It's twofold. Okay. So it's good in the sense that, everybody's invested, they're serious, they really value finding a good relationship. The other side of it is sometimes when people spend that kind of money, they think it's like Build-A-Bear, and they can design exactly what they're looking for, realistic or not. Well, I spent this money, so I should have this is an issue and a problem that's ongoing.
I'm sure it is. You get some frumpy guy who wants this very attractive woman, and I can afford it. I'm like, it doesn't always work that way.
I know.
You gotta lose 150 pounds and grow some, hair and
I know. I know.
or
I
whatever.
know. I know. And so the advice I give all my clients, don't ask for more than what you're offering, and for the people who do that, that's great. And it's fair and it's reasonable. And that can be applied to a lot of things, right? But
Are people realistic in what they're offering?
not a lot.
So how,
Sometimes,
so
yes.
so is that a standard conversation you have to have with somebody? Like, I realize you're looking for a Ferrari, but you're kind of a Chevy.
That's just how I say
Not a Chevy Corvette, like a Chevy Malibu.
it. Like a guy comes in and let's say, he's got a big belly. That's fine. But he wants a very slender, attractive, walked out of Victoria's Secret catalog kind of a woman. So I have to gently, tactfully say, well, you're kind of a big guy. What do you think about somebody that, maybe carries a few extra pounds like
Sure.
you? You got to be tactful with.
Do you remember? This is so funny. My cousin Molly worked there for a little while. Do you remember that?
Remember Molly?
And Molly, so she was straight to the point. And
Very blunt.
somebody was hesitating about signing the membership. And if I don't, I probably don't remember exactly, but she said something like, "Look, you're here. You're not out there dating. You're here. Just sign just sign the check."
And I believe there are still reps like that, and that
I
worked.
remember.
And that worked
Oh
for
my
her.
God, it worked. She closed everybody.
She was
Um,
fabulous.
and they helped a lot of people. So, but what about like success stories? Because I mean, we can sit here and make fun of the people who are, whatever, but that's really not helpful. What about
No, no,
success stories? Because there's
no, and
probably plenty of those too.
And I don't in any way mean that in making fun. It's just a
I know.
reality, you know,
No,
it's
I
just,
get it. Well,
it's
we
just the
all
way it
want
is.
something more than what we have to offer.
But yes, there are wonderful success stories, and there are people who have gotten married, and we get what we call happy holds emailed to us from corporate every single month. People who have met, they put their program on hold. We used to call it going on freeze, if you recall that, with Great Expectations. So
Yeah.
it just means that they're pausing their membership because they met someone and they're happy. And yes, we do get those stories, and that's why I'm still doing it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm still doing it for all of the good stories and for the people that, you know, I am able to help. And
That's amazing.
it is.
That's great.
And
That's
technically, I did meet my husband Mitch through Great Expectations, but he came in for an interview. So I technically didn't meet him through the system.
I see. Did he sign up?
He did sign up, and he still thinks he should have a refund. I said, hey, you've got your money's worth at this point.
Yeah, exactly. He got the extra special service that he didn't pay for. He should be just fine.
Be fine. Yeah, but the truth of the matter is, yeah, we met technically through a work situation, but I still would have never met him had he not walked through that door.
Right.
And
Right.
he was very, you know, unsure when he did walk through that door, and he did try to cancel the next day. But
And you said, no, you already paid. Sorry, buddy.
yeah, talked him back in, told him I know he would do well. So I
And
meant
he did.
it. He did okay.
He did better than everybody else. They got you.
So yeah, you meet people that you might not meet in your everyday life, you know, and
Yeah,
and they're committed. They're spending the money, they're committed. It is important to them, you know.
sure.
So it's a
And
big,
what do you think it is about? Is it like a human nature thing? You know, if I'm with somebody more attractive than me, then somehow I'm better or I'm as good as. Like, what do you think the psychology of that is?
I think, I think that there are two things. I think a lot of people aren't super self-aware. Um, some people are, some people are not. So I think self-awareness has a lot to do with it. There are people who, you know, maybe just feel differently about themselves as opposed to what the reality is, you know. So I think that's part of it. Um, some people, yeah, I think you're a little bit right when you said, you know, maybe for the ego, you know, for the ego, that's a little bit more with men. It's still that way. Who want, you know, the younger, the, you know,
Well,
attractive.
men are so much more visual. I mean,
They
in
are.
what just how we're wired. I've
They are.
tried to unwire that from time to time and go, all right, well, what is this all about? You know,
Yeah.
why is that the way I see the world? And then, you know, as I've aged and my body's changed and all the rest, and my wife is still in love with me, and I'm like, I don't see what you see. And it's not what she sees, it's what she feels. And it's a different,
You grow together, and
but it's a different animal, right?
it is different.
You know,
It
what she sees as attractive is very different than what I see as attractive. And
right. We're very hard on ourselves, I think, as
for
humans.
sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think most of us are, no matter what we look like, no matter what we take care of ourselves. I think as a rule, maybe women a little bit more so, but I think we're a little bit harder on ourselves than need be.
for sure. I mean, social media you know, for sure. I mean,
Oh,
any billboard, walk into Abercrombie and watch, you know, these ads for these beautiful people, and you know, buy these clothes, you'll be as beautiful as them. I mean, that's what everybody wants to strive
so
for.
it's so unrealistic, so much.
Completely, they're all airbrushed anyway.
Yeah, I know. Well, really, you know, I mean, people do that with their photos. They don't, you know, so there's a lot, but there are also truly a lot of people who are very genuine and very kind and very open. So that's another thing what makes people successful with the matchmaking is they're open. They're not putting everything that they gotta have all these check boxes, you know, 100 boxes
Hmm.
checked in order to even consider dating someone. You know, you have
Right.
to open, because you never know. I mean, when I met my husband and he still rides a motorcycle, makes me a nervous wreck. That's not me, I'm not a real super adventurous person.
Mhm.
He is, like, to the nth degree. And I thought that was going to get in the way. And we have our little moments about it, but ultimately those are things you get past when you have a connection, when you really connect with somebody. And
Yeah.
that's what it's about. You have to be like-minded about your values, your sense of humor, right? A lot of different things.
When you help people come together, do you also coach it all in the terms of, all right, now that you met somebody and you guys are dating and you seem to be interested, are you involved at all with the beyond, the staying
Yeah.
together?
It,
Because
it,
the
it
odds of staying together are 60% you're not gonna,
I
right?
know,
I
right?
mean,
I
we've
know.
both been divorced,
Yep.
right? And so there's, we're in the category. It sucks, but
Definitely. Most people
most people can figure out how to get someone, but they don't figure out how to stay.
how to keep the relationship going. Yeah, I do get involved with that to a degree. We have, like, kind of separate areas of our company. We have matchmaking. I do the sales end for the most part, but I also have a handful of clients that, sometimes you form a little bit more of a bond, that they really want my help and they want me to be involved. I can't do it with everyone because we have hundreds, but yes, I do. And I do offer them suggestions, like you say, once they are, in the beginning of a relationship and they're not sure what's going on, or they're not sure with this. I love to be able to give that input. And
That's awesome.
I love it when the people are receptive to hearing it and they want to hear it.
Yeah. Do you ever do that thing? Do you remember? So for those listening, Jenn also went through my teacher training and is a yoga teacher at our studio, as well as a part-time gig for, other side of matchmaking. But I always do this thing that whenever, like, I officiate a wedding or um, uh, do a talk on something, I always, the three suggestions. Number one, thank each other every night for three things um, that the other person did for you that day. It can be simple, like thanks for putting the cap on the toothpaste and toilet seat up or down or whatever. It could be something is like, thanks for working so hard, or thanks for thinking
Yeah.
about me when you made me my tea this morning, just something. And
Appreciation is huge. You're right.
huge. Well, and it's also interesting too, is that I was listening to Andrew Huberman. You ever listen to Andrew
Yeah.
Huberman?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So it was talking about the neuroscience of gratitude. And he said gratitude, like journals, are super important, but the real neural connections happen when you receive gratitude. And it's in the receiving of it that has a greater impact in your contentment, leading to greater happiness, than the journal itself. Which I thought was really interesting, because if you think about it, if I said, Jenn, you're beautiful, my God, your classes are phenomenal, you're doing such a good job in the world, I love what you're doing, what's your first reaction?
Oh, heartwarming.
Yeah. Heartwarm? Oh,
Yeah.
good. Because
I'd be happy.
somebody says that stuff to me and I kind of go, oh,
Really?
it's,
Why?
I don't
Why?
know. I have a real hard time taking it in. I have an easy time giving it.
Oh, I can give it, and I like to take it too.
Good for you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it greatly when somebody says something nice.
Yeah, I totally appreciate it, but it doesn't go in to me. And it takes me a minute to, like, receive
Oh,
it, have it go
that's
inside, appreciate it. I don't know what that is about my personality. I'm sure somebody
oh.
listening to this will go, oh yeah, well, you're a 12-year-old child, blah, 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 blah. Inner.
Well, I think that's sweet. I think that means you're humble, you know.
Maybe, or I'm just deranged. I don't know.
My first
One of my
thing
many issues.
is I'm heartwarmed, so maybe I'm not, but no, I mean, to me that just would feel good. But you know what I mean? I don't know. But the other side of it, it depends on, how some people, have you ever gotten a compliment that you just didn't feel was genuine? Like you felt
Yeah.
like somebody was just saying something just to be nice, or
Yes.
I
Yeah.
do know the difference between that, and that doesn't,
Those never feel good.
those never feel good. So
Ever.
genuine appreciation is nice. And I have
Yeah.
to say this, I have to interject the yoga teacher training 5 years ago now that I went through with you was so life-changing in so many ways. And it helped with the other, my main career, it helped with that too.
Hmm.
Helped in relating to people. It helped in, even though I consider myself to be a very compassionate person anyway, it doubled, it was more having just a deeper understanding of people and of humans and of feelings, it was just really great. And I always say that, I always tell Bernadine, if I'm having, because I'm mildly burned out on the matchmaking. I will admit that. So whenever I teach a yoga class, I'm like, okay, that just totally made up for my bad week at work.
Yeah. I think anybody who's done a job like you and I have done, for this many years,
You get a
you,
little
you
burnout.
get burned out. It's just you need more vacations and you need to work a little less,
Yeah.
but you can do in a shorter period of time more than what somebody else can do in a longer period of time because you've got so many years of experience, right?
Yeah.
And same thing with me. And so, but yeah, working a little bit less and staves off the burnout a little bit.
It does, yeah, and for me, teaching, it just is such a wonderful balance, so I'm super, super
That's
grateful.
phenomenal. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Um, I want to get back though to the gratitude part because I think that what people want most for each other is that they're happy. If you're in a
Right.
relationship, you want your partner to be happy. My wife wants me to be happy. I want her to be happy.
Yeah.
And the hardest part is, like, so when we're laying in bed and I thank her for three things, she'll go, oh, well, it wasn't a big deal. And like, she'll start to like diffuse it. I'm like, no, you have to take it in. You got to
Right.
receive it. Stop talking. Just receive
Maybe
it.
she's like you a little bit with that.
I think so. I think so. So I've learned to take it in much better when she says thank you for this, that, and the other thing. And she has a harder time, which is really the opposite of what I thought would be.
Isn't that funny?
Um, huh?
It's funny, and
It
I don't
is.
know if you've heard this along those lines of gratitude. I read an article, this was quite a few years back. Daily expressions of gratitude, genuine daily expressions of gratitude can actually rewire the molecular structure of the gray matter in your brain.
That's
And
so
it
cool.
can make you a happier person. It was an article on happiness from a neuroscience kind of a perspective. And it was very interesting. And I believe it,
Yeah.
because you know how it is. If you complain, we all get in cycles where we complain, oh, this sucks and this was rough. And then that, if you do that too much, you kind of don't feel very good. You don't really feel ultimately very joyful.
Right.
And so conversely, when you express that gratitude, I think it's very true. I think it's very true. It makes you a happier
It
person.
does. It does. And it's a really interesting practice too, because how can you be angry at somebody when you go to bed when you've just thanked them for three things? It just
Yes.
diffuses all of it. And
that.
if
I
if
like
if partners can create that habit, it's really powerful.
Yeah.
The second thing is to do one nice anonymously nice thing for that person. So like every morning I make tea for my wife. I mean, she knows it's for me, but she doesn't have to ask. I set out her teacup and her tea bag and her lemon and her water, and I just set it up. So even if I'm leaving, it's ready for her when she gets up.
I think that's really wonderful.
Yeah, and but it feels good to do because then she knows first thing in the morning I'm thinking about her
I was just
rather
going
than
to
just
say,
running off to work. And for her, that's very important. And then the third thing is think of three things you're grateful for, because if my happiness is based, I'm in charge of that.
yeah.
My wife can't make me happy. She can make me unhappy, but she can't make me happy.
She can't make you unhappy either.
Sometimes it feels that way. But yeah, I mean, really, my happiness is my responsibility. And sometimes we go into relationships wanting, well, you're supposed to make me happy. It doesn't work that way. You got to make
Mhm.
yourself happy.
You got to make
And
yourself happy
and if we
first.
don't do that, if we don't do those three things, I think a lot of relationships fail. I mean, they fail for a lot of reasons, but those are like three kind of pivot points, I think, for a lot of folks that are easy to do, but nobody's like, I'm too busy, I'm too tired, I'm too whatever. Well, then you're gonna probably have a failed marriage or relationship.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just
No, I really like that, and I could incorporate that into some of
you
my
should do a workshop on those three things for people staying together or something for your matchmaking people. I don't know.
It's very possible.
Or maybe it'll be on the podcast and they'll learn it.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
true. I love that. I love that. Gratitude, appreciation, is all so important. And,
yeah,
and getting out of your own self, sometimes is very important too. You have to kind of get out of your own way. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
for sure. Well, I think there's years ago, my grandfather, when he was alive, was fighting with my uncle, and my uncle said, "What the f do you want from me?" And my grandfather says, "I don't want anything from you. I want for you." And I think that that's a really interesting statement.
Yeah.
A lot of relationships are, what do we want from each other? And very rarely do we do, what do we want for each other? And I find that when I think about, like, Kate and I kind of once a year, twice a year, do a thing like, what do we want for each other? We write it down, kind of like a business plan for our marriage. And
I
and then
like.
we try to help the other person achieve it. And I find that that's really helpful too, is that mindset.
Mhm.
And I mean, I feel, I feel good about my marriage because we want for each other in a lot of ways. There's times we want from each other, but for each other
Course,
is
it's
such
going to
a,
be a little of both, but it's
yeah,
very important to be conscious of wanting for the other person,
right, right.
and obviously when, when your partner is happy, that's going to make you happier ultimately.
Typically, yes. When she's happy, I'm happy. And,
Yeah.
when I'm miserable and she's happy, I'm less miserable.
Right.
Works that way.
Yes,
um,
yes.
so tell me, well, how come you wanted to teach yoga? What was the, I mean, it's been 5 years, so I don't remember like your
I
desire
didn't
to,
I didn't think I wanted to teach yoga. I was only going to do the first half. I
oh
don't know if
yeah,
you remember that. I was only going to do the lifestyle part because I remember talking to Brandy about it at lunch. I'm like, I'm going to go to Brian's teacher training. She's like, do you want to teach? And I'm like, no, 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 I don't want to teach. I said, I just want to go through and deepen my practice and learn about the history and all of that. And then obviously, which I think maybe is, I'm sure not the only person that happened to, once you get in and you get so involved, want to go all the way through it. And
sure.
then teaching started to not sound as scary. To me, it sounded like absolutely frightening,
Yeah.
and then when I went through the whole program, yoga is my solace. It really, it grounds me. And I tell this to my students too, just sometimes if I'm in a mood, or if I'm just frustrated, or even if I'm really tired, I'll get up and I'll do some yoga and I'll move and I'll stretch and I'll instantly almost feel better. It's such a positive thing. So, whoops. So going through, no, I didn't originally want to become a teacher, but I loved every second of that training. I just
Hmm.
did. And then once it was over, I'm like, I'm doing my feedback classes. And I remember you gave all of us a little booklet to keep notes in at the end of the teacher training. And you wrote a little note to all of us. And you wrote in mine, you should do your feedback classes. I think people will enjoy taking your classes as a teacher. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing my feedback classes. I'm just going to do it. So I just moved ahead and kept going.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I get so many good, so after our computer system auto generates emails to people for like reviews. I get so many reviews of your classes specifically. People love what you
Oh, that's
do.
so nice to hear.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
kind of why I never take your classes, because I know they're good.
Okay, good.
If I show up in your class one day, it's because I've gotten some complaints, and
I hope I never see you then.
and I hope you never see me too. Sometimes I just want a class, sometimes I just want to take a class, but
Right.
a lot of times it's if I start hearing complaints, I'll come to the class and see what the teacher's doing,
Sure,
and
sure.
be able to give suggestions and so forth. But yeah, it's but I get so many great compliments from your classes. The students love what you're doing, and they
So,
just feel very well cared for.
Oh, I'm so glad. I love them. Really,
Yeah.
we're just a wonderful, it's a wonderful community you and Kate have built. It
Mm.
is. You've heard that a million times.
Thanks.
It's the truth.
Thank you.
It's a good part of life, you know. It's a really good part of life.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um, I want to get back to the dating thing a little bit though,
Mhm.
because um, other than the technology, do you think anything else has changed? Or do you think people's needs and wants and um, have things changed in 35 years?
Uh, Not that much as far as people's needs and wants. Not that much. I think there are so many different scenarios. What I see more of now, this is interesting, male versus a female. I see men who have lost their wives, not necessarily, 80, 90-year olds, but 60s, 70s. They're ready much sooner than women.
Oh,
Um, that is a trend I've seen change. It used to be, I think even, gosh, I don't know, back at Great Expectations, I think if somebody was widowed, we had to ensure that they'd been widowed at least 1 year before we would even invite them in for the appointment.
oh, wow.
We don't do that anymore. I've literally enrolled people widowed for 1 month. But what the case,
Wow.
and I always tell them, because they come in and they're like, I don't know, I'm sorry if you think this is too soon. I said, I'm not judging. There are no rules.
Right.
Every situation's different. And a lot of times the case is their spouse was ill for a very long time. And they were the caretaker, which brings about a lot of stress and anxiety,
Sure.
depression. So they're ready for joy again, they're
Mm.
ready for joy. But I do see that quite a bit more with the men than the women. I think if I were to make a general statement, I would say that I think a lot of men have a tougher time when a relationship ends being alone than women do. Women tend to be a little more social with their friends, I think. I don't know if that's part of
I
it.
think men are more isolated. I mean,
A
I've
little
got
bit.
like two or three good friends I talk to every couple of weeks,
Yeah,
I suppose. And certainly nobody I talk to every day, other than my wife, my
right.
daughter. I think that kind of makes some sense.
I think it does. I think that's the case. I really do. So that I have seen change over the years. Men are
And do you
more.
think that's just sort of like in the DNA? Like, I feel content and like I'm serving my purpose in the world when my business is doing well. Whereas my wife is content in serving her purpose when her family and her other relationships are doing well. I don't pay as much attention to my relationships because my purpose is to go work in my mind, and my wife's is to hold the family and support and in different ways than I do. And do you think that's just a men, women, Mars, Venus thing?
To a degree, yeah, I do. I do because even though women certainly have careers as much as men do these days, that's a big shift for sure.
Yeah.
I actually have more educated professional women in my program than men.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that interesting? It used to be the opposite.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think there are certain gender things that stereotypes, whatever you want to call them, that are true. And I still think for men, they feel like their work, it does define them maybe a little bit more, you know, um, the breadwinner, I know that's all sounds so archaic,
It
but
kind of does, but maybe that's just how it is to a
I think,
degree. To a
yeah,
degree.
to a degree,
I
yeah,
mean, there's going to be gray areas for sure, and
for everything, there.
but I mean, all the men I know anyway, their identity is based upon their job. I mean, if I met somebody, well, what do you do? That's just sort of like the very first thing we talk about.
Right,
And if my wife met somebody, it would probably be like, how many kids do you have? You
right.
know, I mean, which is just a huge dovetail in the
What are your
complete polar.
hobbies? What are
Yeah,
your,
oh, well, we had a vacation, we did this, we did that. I'm like, what do you do? And how do you like your job? And, in my mind, I'm going, how much do you earn? And what kind of car do you drive? Whatever. But I think that that's just kind of in the wiring, I think.
I do too. I think there are certain things that are just in the wiring. I just do. I
It's so
definitely.
funny in our times now how we try to unwire the wiring and be more neutral, like men getting rid of some of their masculinity and women getting rid of some of their femininity, and trying to find this more, I guess, middle space where we're more equal.
Right.
But, and maybe I'm just a 58-year-old white guy, but why can't men just be men and women can be women, and just sort of align with whatever your alignment is, not with what some societal.
Not trying to force it because that's the trend, you
Yeah.
know. I don't believe in that either.
And I'm not saying go back to the 50s where the
No,
man
no.
worked, the woman stayed at home barefoot. I mean,
Oh, no, no,
I'm
no.
not
Yeah,
I'm not talking
no,
about those gender roles
no.
or eliminating
But
them, or
just,
bringing those back, God
yeah.
forbid.
No, I agree with you though. And I think that I just think anytime you force yourself out of who you really are, then I don't think that's the best thing. That's just my opinion. If you naturally evolve, sometimes we change
Sure.
without thinking about it and without thinking, well, I should be more like this. If you think, oh, I should be more like this, I'm going to make myself be more like this. Then I think it's not as a genuine flow.
I think, yeah, I think people are more unhappy.
Hmm.
There was there was a movie, and there was this guy, American guy, and he went to India. He was talking to a guru. He's looking for answers to his problems of his life. And the guy is like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know what direction I'm heading in. And the guru stops for a moment. He says, stop being who you are not. And that has always stuck with me, because in your gut when you're not in alignment, if you're listening, you know,
Yes,
and I think that a lot of people sort of pigeonhole themselves into some societal norm and are not, and they're being who they are not, or trying to be anyway, and they're miserable, just
I think
terribly miserable.
I think anytime you try to be what you're not, you're going to be disappointed and
Yeah.
miserable. I agree 100%. And you gotta, and that all leads to self-awareness, which isn't always easy to have, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's not always easy to have, but I do believe the more self-aware somebody is, it's usually, and I find that in my interviews at work too, when somebody tells me they've done, this, what they've done to grow as a person,
Hmm.
genuine good thing, I just always respond to that more. And those are usually the people that are more open in general,
Yeah.
so I think it's good. I think you evolve, but you don't force that.
Yeah. And
Forcing.
I think too, people are, it's, I think everyone is aware of themselves, but they aren't open about sharing that. You know what I mean? They want to hide it because it seems weak, or it seems this or that. I
Right,
think a lot
right,
of times, like, in your gut when you're doing something you shouldn't be doing,
right.
but you do it anyway for whatever reasons,
Or
or
you say
you,
something that you wish you didn't say because it's not really the right thing to say, but you said
right, exactly.
it.
And the open person will go, oh, that was a mistake, I'm sorry, whatever. But there's that I don't know, I think people definitely are aware of themselves, but they won't, maybe I'm wrong, maybe, but they don't acknowledge, they
I
don't
don't know.
say,
I don't
they
think
don't
so.
let anyone know that they know.
Or they don't dig super deep
Yeah,
into
that's true too.
that awareness level.
Yeah, especially with social media and all of our devices now, it's like it's so easy to not think about it. I mean, how much quiet time do people take anymore to just sit and daydream and be, and you
Yeah,
know
it's true.
or
And the
be in,
kids,
or be with their uncomfortable thoughts and feelings.
right, right. No, it's very true. It's an addiction. I mean, I am guilty of it, for my work a lot. I have to constantly be checking my schedule, and so I'm constantly looking at the phone. Kids, your daughter is I think a year older than my granddaughter,
Yeah.
and she's, it I don't know about your daughter, but my granddaughter's super,
Oh, the phone doesn't leave her side. I
right,
mean, that's the threat. I'm
right.
taking your phone. Shape up, child.
It's a real issue with kids, I think, but I don't know what the answer is.
It is. It's funny too. Like in my mornings, I'll sit out on my back porch, have a cup of tea, and when I'm done with that, I exercise, and then I do some yoga, and then I take an ice bath, and that's my morning gig. But if I pick up my phone and go, well, I better check my emails. 7 in the morning, nothing matters at 7 in the morning. Oh, well, I better see if Facebook, there's any questions for the studio. Well, let's check the weather. Oh, there's a storm. Okay, well, let's go on YouTube and see what's going on with this. And then I'm
You
gone,
down that rabbit hole and
and
then
it sets you up for the day. Like the whole day, I'm anxiously looking and checking my phone. Whereas on the days where I say, all right, I'm not going to touch my phone until 8 o'clock, I'm going to have an hour of nothing. Um, I'll check my phone whenever without that anxiety feeling.
yes, it's more it's peaceful, isn't it? When you can just get out or get outside and not have the phone or not have it
Yeah.
on or
It's
whatever.
so it's so
Um,
just so dumb. And it's like, just put the phone down, Brian. Like, and I'm good about 70% of the time, but 30% of the time I'm like, you know,
I know.
and I hate myself when I do it. Just
Well, you're
kidding.
very self-aware.
Apparently I am. And I'm masculine enough to admit it. Um, with more women in the workforce now than in 35 years ago, and more women business owners, and just the glass ceiling raising, do you think that women's expectations have changed?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I do. I see women being a lot more particular than they used to be. Yes, especially the women who make a lot of money, the women who, have worked very hard and are highly educated, I always love it when a woman like that comes in and she says, because we ask a lot of questions initially, and she says she's open on if the guy's educated or not. She's open on if he has a blue collar job or a white collar job, even when she's this high power executive. Love that, because what that tells me is she's looking at the person. She's looking at not the statistics of the person. Of course, she still wants somebody financially sound,
Sure.
but I like it when they don't, because they do that sometimes. And that's the thing that's most difficult for us when it comes to the matching, is somebody who's just, really, because if you think about it, and this is what my boss always says, they can come in with this list. I want this, and this. Okay, put that down. How do you want them to make you feel? And that is the key, right?
Sure. That's
So
all of it, really.
I like it when people, yeah, we've got a lot of awesome women really, and some awesome men too. But I like it when people come in open and they want that feeling from someone. They want the heart connection.
Is there still like a stigma, like I need help and I'm somehow less than because I can't do this on my own?
Sometimes people come in with that, they're
Is it
like,
more
oh,
men or women?
both,
Both.
both really. Probably a little more men, probably a few more men come in with that stigma
Yeah.
than women. But I always say, you know what? You could go online and you could get lots and lots of dates. Most everyone
Mhm.
can.
Right.
But that, people come to us to be more selective, not because
Mhm.
they're desperate and can't meet anyone.
Right. And I guess they probably know that, but they want to be, they want to be reminded, like,
Sure.
you're not a loser. You're still a good person. You're
Absolutely.
just, there's a big sea and you want to catch a fish, and
Yeah.
I'm a fisherman. I'll help you.
Right. And here you're fishing where the fish are.
Exactly. And
Fun.
I can tell you where the fish are that you like. So
Right. It's to make it easier for people who want to be more particular, as long as they're realistic in being particular.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah,
That's so
it
cool.
is. It's really boring. I will say that.
I'll bet. And I would imagine this is going to be something that is going to be needed for a very long time. This isn't going out of style at all.
No, we're increasing the offices we have around the country. So yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. Do you think because of the influx of ease, like with social media and apps and other stuff, that the more person to person is growing again?
I do. And I also think since COVID, I think that was a big deal. Uh,
Yeah.
that isolated, as we know, so many people. So many people now are still working from home.
Hmm.
That's a big difference for a lot of people. They're not having even the social interaction of going to an office and being with people. So that has really shifted quite a bit. It has, but yeah, no, I agree. I think the person to person, the personal matchmaking, people like it because we do all the work. These are busy people. They don't want to sit at a computer or on their phone swiping for hours a day. They don't
Right.
want to do that. They want
Right.
somebody to do it for them.
That's interesting. I always thought, for COVID, it was going to either create a lot of babies or a lot of divorces. I think it did both.
It did both. It did both.
Yeah. Yeah. And now that I would imagine, yeah, that's got to be great for your business now because, well, for so many reasons, like you just said. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah.
And what's the name of the company?
The matchmaking company.
Okay. And
Pretty.
and then what office are you located in?
I'm in Birmingham,
Got it. That's got to be a
downtown.
great location.
It is. It's a real nice location.
Is it real geographic? Like if you're in a Birmingham office, you're mostly getting Birmingham people, or is it?
No, no, not at all. We get, I would say about, bless you,
Sorry.
bless you. We get, I'd say about a 50-mile radius from
Oh,
the Birmingham office, and then we have an Ann Arbor office as well.
got it.
But yeah, so no, it's not just Birmingham people. It's, Macomb County,
I'm
Oakland County.
not, throwing shade on Birmingham people. I
Oh,
just
no, no, I know.
figured it was geographic and in nature.
I know, I know.
Very
Yeah, no,
cool.
it's nice. It's a lovely office. It's in a good, it's nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool. That's awesome.
yeah.
And then do you guys ever do social things with your customers, like
We
create
don't.
events and things?
We used to do that, as you recall, at Great Expectations.
Yeah,
We used to do a lot of social events for the members, but no, we do not do that anymore.
got it.
I've done that, and I probably since then.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a long
No,
time.
it's just pretty much the one-on-one matching, and we only match people one at a time. We're not like saying, here's 3 this week and here's 4 next, we do it one
Right.
at a time, and then we get their feedback, which is real important too.
Cool. It's nice that they're so open about that. I mean, I would think people would be quite guarded and oh, it just didn't work out and walk away rather than, well, no, this is why it didn't work out and
Well,
this
and
is
I
what.
tell them in our interview, because that's part of our success rate, is people who are giving us good, honest, direct feedback, because we don't know how to proceed otherwise. If they just say, it wasn't my type, well, why? What does that mean? In what way?
Right.
What wasn't right?
Right.
Got to dig a little.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about or bring up or
Gosh,
say about the world of your world?
I can't think of anything. I think we covered a lot.
Cool.
I can say that I'm back to the gratitude. I am grateful to have my career in matchmaking. I'm grateful to teach yoga. I'm super grateful to have both.
Yeah.
And they kind of balance each other out.
That's kind of nice. Well, it's nice having like a passion project that, yeah, there's the daily grind of your business and you've been doing it a long time and that's going to happen for everybody at some point. It's not like we're always going to walk into work and go, it's the best day of my life. Tomorrow's gonna be even better. I hope as yours is too.
I don't think I've ever said that.
Keith, every day he would say that. And but I think that too, like having that passion side of what you do, yoga is really it kind of balances it out. I think more people need their passion projects. When I coach sometimes I'll say, well, you're working all these hours. The minute you leave your job, there's just gonna be another name on the door. What are you dedicating yourself for? And why not do something for yourself? And when you do that, I think that it makes people more well-rounded,
Oh, for
and
sure.
then they have the patience that they need for the mundane of their day job. So
Absolutely. I agree with you. It's so good to be able to do something for yourself that uh motivates you, that makes you feel happy,
for sure,
It sounds so corny and simple, but it's the truth, it's
it
really,
is.
really important.
It is
Yeah.
cool. So again, for matchmaking, what's the name of it again?
The Matchmaking Company.
Matchmaking, and you're in Birmingham, Michigan, and they have a website.
Yes, thematchmakingcompany.com.
Cool. And then for yoga, Jenn does private lessons.
Yes.
And you can reach her through Red Lotus Yoga, redlotusyoga.com. And we will connect you to Jenn if you want privates or groups or any other kinds of things that she might want to get her hands on.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, Jenn, thank you so much. I love doing this.
Thank you. I had so much fun talking with you, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you more.
Okay, very
Talk to you
good.
soon.
Bye.